Now recording. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to the WriteRight Discord, where we offer semi-annual, whenever we feel like it, events, such as this, to teach authors, young and old alike, how to improve their writing craft. Now, without further ado, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty tonight of what's on the agenda. First, I want to give a special shout out to our guest author, Natalie Brown. She has agreed to join us and is totally not doing this against her will. Hello, Natalie.
Hi, thank you for having me today. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having the time to be with us.
Of course.
And in case it wasn't already obvious from the few emphases I've made already, you guessed it, we're here to talk about donuts. No, wait, no, that's not right. What does my notes say? Oh, time. Time. Yeah, that's what it is. So we all want it. We all want more of it. But what can we do? We're going to start off with a brief overview of the concept of time management. Talk about different techniques, what successful authors have implemented, such as Natalie, and how we can use these skills and open up to a community discussion after we finish talking. So, everybody knows, we all recognize that there's only 24 hours in a day. Honestly, if you think about it though, the time we have available day to day is very limited. Here's a rundown of just some of the normal activities that normal people would do throughout the day. And if I miss any, I apologize. Shower, brush teeth, put on clothes, drive to work, get stuck in traffic, talk on the phone, eat breakfast, eat lunch, do your job, finish laundry, handle bills, do chores, go to the post office, buy groceries, handle customer disputes, help relatives, sort through clothes, wash clothes, drive home, go to the bathroom, go to the store, get stuck in traffic again, and sometimes eat dinner, shower again, and get 8 to 9 hours sleep. Whew. So, that does not leave a lot of wiggle room, does it? When do we have time to do anything fun, you might ask? That's kind of where time management has to come into play because we all have time to do the things that are essential, such as eating and sleeping. We have to do that. So, time management, to put it in the simplest terms, is how a person can allocate or allot time throughout their day to accomplish a lot of different goals. What most people do not realize is that we already have these good time management skills because we've given ourselves time to shower, at least I hope we have, brush our teeth, eat breakfast, put on clothes, don't go outside naked. And you're already smarter about how you're accounting for all your time by doing all of these things. So, what does that leave room for since you've got all of the essential things going? What about the things that we enjoy? Like for all of us, we love to write. Well, we're going to talk about a few different techniques that we can employ. Um, First of all, if you're taking notes, feel free to. There's going to be a short document that has links to a lot of different articles from across the web that talk about time management. But the first thing that we can do is by setting goals correctly. And what that means is that you need to make sure that these goals are achievable and measurable. So, in terms of a writer, we can't just say, I'm going to write a novel this week. That's not an achievable goal because we all know that that's not possible. But we could say, I'm going to write a novel this year. That's a little bit more reasonable. So, how do we measure a goal like that? One thing we can do is by prioritizing wisely. Prioritize the tasks that you have based upon the importance of them and the urgency of them. So, when it comes to our writing, look at what we have on our plate and decide which of those projects is the most important one. Which one is urgent? Is there any that perhaps have deadlines or are for particular submissions that have to be made by X date? Obviously, those have to go at the top. Then the other ones can go at the bottom. And then we can kind of have a little middle room for the ones that we want to do. So check your calendar, make a calendar. That's another important thing that we can do. There's a lot of different time tracking apps that are available. I've saved ones that are for Android since it seems like most people nowadays are using Android. And this is from Hubstaff blog, the best top 10 time tracking app. Number one is called Hubstaff. It's a robust productivity and time clock app that is perfect for Android. It's lightweight, but it's packed with a lot of different features that allow you to control your work and make reporting what you're doing easier. When you make a report of what you've done, what you've accomplished, it makes you feel good because you finished your goal. Even something as simple as saying, I'm going to type out 2,000 words. Put that in your goal. Once you finish that goal, make a mark of the fact that you finished it. So Hubstaff is great. It uses GPS tracking. You can keep up with different team members. It's mostly used for offices, so you can connect with other people too if you want to. Number two is called Toggle. It's Toggl. Simple, easy to use. It aims to improve workplace production by helping people to focus on one task at a time. Then there's Harvest. Harvest promotes to make timesheets likable and does a good job by having real-time access to tracking, allowing you to stay on top of budgets. That one costs $12 a month, though, so you may not want that one. Just to be aware, some of these are free, some of these cost money. Number four is called TimeCap. At the core of it is timesheets. I personally don't use timesheets for writing, so if that works for you, do that. But if it doesn't, there's a lot of other things available. You can also do ClickTime, number five, which is basically an hour log or a calculator that allows you to figure out how much time are you spending doing certain things. You never really realize how much time you're spending on something until you actually write it down and look at the data. And then you suddenly realize, oh my God, this is where all my time is going. I've spent X amount of time doing this when I could have done this. I'm gonna skim through the other ones because they're at the bottom of the pile, but it's also number six is called Tick. Number seven is called Clockadoo. I like that name. I don't know why. Number eight is Time Logger. Number nine is Timesheet. And number 10 is called Jiffy. So all of those will be available in the document. So what are the best time management tips for writers? We're going to talk about 12 different tips, time management tips that writers can do. First, we're going to talk about the biggest struggles that we usually have as writers. Number one, balance, which is meeting our current deadline and marketing to our existing and new clients who keep having work come in. When it comes to those of us that are writing on Reddit, we can think about, I want to get something out tomorrow and I want to have it in a particular time slot because I want to get the most upvotes. Or it could be a case of, as mentioned before, trying to reach a certain deadline. So we need to have balance about what comes first. Number two struggle is focus. Switching from task to task or project to project without getting distracted. I, for one, get distracted a lot. Anybody who knows that knows me. And in some ways, that can also become a strength because if you can jump from project to project, type a little here, type a little there, that's not so bad. But it comes to the point whenever you can't focus at all that it can become a problem. Number three, expectations. We need to create realistic expectations about how much that can be accomplished in an hour, in a day, in a week, and in a month, so that we do not overload ourselves or that we're not doing enough. So figure out for yourself what is your expectation of yourself and realize that number four, you need to be flexible. You know, the way it goes in this world with the pandemic, and the world changing every day. We don't know what sort of circumstances we're going to deal with. Just the other day, I had to go to the hospital for an unexpected reason. Didn't know why until I got there. So we have to be flexible because there's going to be things that are going to pop up unexpectedly. And then number five is we need to learn how to be multitasking. If you can't multitask, it can be difficult to stay focused on anything else. So, what strategies can we do to boost productivity? Number one, turn off distractions. Disconnect your phone if you have to, unless you're using your phone to type. Do not check your email. Do not check social media. Do not listen to music unless music allows you to calm down and get into the zone. You can use an extension that I use called Stay Focused, which allows you to limit the number of minutes that you spend during the day, like on Facebook or on Reddit. The way I have it set up is like whenever it goes a little bit too far, it'll send you a little alarm that tells you, hey, you've overdone your limit for today on Facebook. Number two, you can use a timer if you want to, if you have trouble keeping track of time yourself. Um, Set an egg timer if you have one. Get an online timer. There's all kinds. We just mentioned all those apps that you can use. And then give yourself a break whenever your timer goes off. There's no reason for you to burn out. Okay? Don't do that. Number three, get yourself a goal buddy. And what that means is that find for yourself a group or somebody, an individual that can be like a writing partner, and then do regular check ins on each other. Hold each other accountable for the time that you're using. Some writing buddies can check in every hour, once a day, once a week, once a quarter. And I think that would be something that I'd like to implement more often here on the Discord because I've noticed whenever it comes to collaborations that they usually do really well whenever everybody's holding each other accountable for what is it that you've got done. And on a smaller setting, when it's just like normal projects, that can be good. Number four, set goals. Um, Laura Vanderkam, a New York freelance writer and author, says she writes out her big priorities for the week. It's a short list, and then she schedules them. So figure out what your goals are for that week, and then write them down and see what you can get done. Number five, reward yourself. Many writers will set daily or weekly goals and then reward themselves for meeting tasks or deadlines. They don't have to be big, it could be a nap or coffee with friends, glass of wine at the end of the day, play a video game, something like that. Point is to just treat yourself for getting the job done. Other writers may say that the only reward they need is the one that counts the most, getting paid. So if you've got a deadline, make sure you get in contact with the person that's wanting that deadline right away so that you can get that pay. And that can be your reward. Number six, break up the day into chunks. So you could put 1 to 2 hours dedicated to a big project and then use the rest of the day on something else. You can section out your days a whole week ahead if you want, mapping out your activities and try to stick to the schedule as much as you can. Follow a formal productivity regime. Some writers swear by this. I have never done it before, but I'm going to add it in here as well because it can help you to focus on what you need done. And so when you have the regime, basically you keep it on, and it's like a constant email reminder that you have that is telling you, hey, you need to get this done. You need to get this done. You've got X amount of minutes to get this done. If that stresses you out, just ignore that one because it sounded like it would be a little stressful for me. Number eight is another thing you can do is you can use to-do lists. Some writers swear by this, myself included, and I love the immense satisfaction that comes across crossing things off of your list whenever they're finished. Stick to it as much as you can, and then at the end of the day, you'll see, hey, I got 8 out of the 12 things I wanted done today, and it can be kind of self-rewarding. Number 9 is another thing I do, work when nobody else is around. So, we all know we've got crazy hours. I'm sure Natalie's probably gonna touch on this some more too later on, but you gotta find a time to use your energy wisely. So, find the time of day where you know that you're not gonna be interrupted. It's not always gonna be the same time every day. Number 10, work when you're on, which means use the time of day when you have the most energy to tackle the hardest tasks on your to-do list. So if the hardest tasks are like things related to family chores and stuff like that, use that time of the day for the most energy. Number 11, this is pretty self-explanatory. Tackle the hardest stuff first. Pick the thing that you're dreading to do the most, and then do it first. Get it out of the way, and it can actually give you like a psychological boost to carry through everything else. And if necessary, you can also hire help, such as a virtual assistant, or if you need to, find an editor who can go through everything that you've got in your workload. Um, Maybe, like you said, you could use a buddy previously that could handle certain tasks, maybe proofreading, or ask a friend to help you with research. All that can be extremely helpful to get the task done. Next, we're going to talk about, let me see if I can pull this up, other techniques that we can use. Um, Try to be as organized as you can. I know we all get a little scatterbrained sometimes with everything going on in the world, but the recommendations that we've mentioned can help you to stay organized. And I don't know about you, but like with me and my wife, when we have a clean house, it helps us to feel a little bit more organized because you get things done. So you're like, you do the dishes, you do the laundry, you mop the floor, and then as you're getting things done, it's like there's this psychological boost to, hey, I've got all this done and I feel organized. So try it if you can. And if you can't, we understand. These are all just recommendations of different things that you can do. Now, I'm going to talk about a few more that I thought were pretty interesting. Um, One is called SMART goals. The idea is pretty simple. Every SMART goal should be written down, followed by the specific criteria. Make the goal specific, which is S, clearly defined desired outcome, what it is you want to achieve. So make the goal specific. Number 2, make it measurable, M. There must always be a measure of progress. Number 3, achievable. Make sure that the goal can be met with the resources that you have available. Number 4, R, relevant. It needs to fit into the big picture so that you want to know what it is that you're achieving. And also, number 5, make it time bound where you have a clear deadline on the goal that you want to achieve. Most people do not set goals. Around 10% of people have written goals. That means that it takes effort with some real reflection and thinking to write down meaningful goals in the right way. So if you decide to write down your goals, you don't want to start writing out vague resolutions that give you a sense of direction. It would be an exercise in vain. You want to write down goals in a smart way. Sorry, let me take a breath here. Whew, I'm talking a lot. There was some other method I wanted to pull up that we mentioned the other day talking on chat. Oh, it was the Pomodoro method. When you do deep work, never forget about taking breaks. And tomatoes can help you to take breaks. In case you didn't know, The Pomodoro method, or tomato, is a very popular method invented by a software developer Francisco Cirillo in the late 1980s. Today, it is the most popular time management technique out there. It's very simple. You break down your daily workload and complete it in different intervals, separated by short breaks. You work for 25 minutes straight, which is called one Pomodoro. Then you take 3 to 5 minute breaks. After 4 Pomodori, you take a longer break. You should use a simple timer to follow this technique, and then following the technique should give you enough focus and recovery time so that you can maximize your priority. Here's a summary of the 6 steps to the Pomodoro method. Decide on the task that you want to have done. Set the timer. Work on the task. End your work no matter where you're at after the Pomodoro timer rings. If you have small task, take a short break every 3 to 5 minutes. If you have a longer task, take a longer break every 15 to 30 minutes. Then you go back to step one. Now we're going to take a short break from all that, and we're going to interview Miss Natalie Brown to talk about different methods that she has used. But first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi. A horror author who I also um, have children, mother. They're all,
Natalie, I think
yeah.
you're breaking up. Try to
Here we
try.
go. Is this
There we
better?
go. That's a lot better.
I said hello. My name is Natalie Brown. I am a horror author who also works for podcasts. I am a stay-at-home mother with 3 boys. My youngest is 2, and then I have a 6-year-old and an 11-year-old. So they're all relatively young. And one of the things that you really cannot predict is a child for the most part. So it does get challenging. I like a lot of the methods that you use. Some of them I haven't even heard of before.
So, Natalie, over the past few years, you've put out an overwhelming amount of stories. I actually don't even know how many. It's quite a lot. Do you have any idea how many the stories you've done? Like how many anthologies? What else have you done that you've managed to find time for, like your writing career?
Well, in 2019, I participated in, I want to say the last time I checked, 58 anthologies. And about a third of those I had 5 pieces in. So it was multi pieces of fiction. They were shorter, and it was good mental exercise for me. They're called drabbles, or like short fiction, anything like 500 words and under. It was just something to get my mental gymnastics going, to keep myself fresh, something I had time to do that didn't take very, very long. I could sit down. And then 2020, I focused more on like paying markets with longer stories. And I think in 2020, I only was in about 15 to 18 anthologies. But this year, I've already surpassed that already. So
What
2020
kind?
was crazy for everybody.
Yeah, I think we'll give you a break on that one because 2020 was crazy for everybody.
Phew.
So you also said that you're involved in podcasts, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you also submit a lot of stories for narration and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's so much fun. I mean, people bringing breath to words that before only existed in your head. You only heard them in your head. It's amazing, and you get paid for it, which is even better.
Right. Money's always nice. So, since you have such a busy schedule as a mom, how do you find the time to write anything?
It is difficult. Honestly, what I do, Google Sheets and Google Docs, which is something that you showed me the ins and outs of many, many moons ago. Those are so integral to everything. I use them for bills. I just sent one to my husband this morning for everything that he needed to get done. And what I have ones for writing, of course, as well. I have Google Sheets of anthologies that I want to submit to. So if I'm not really sure what I want to work on when the time comes, which is usually the evening, I try to get things done between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Because another thing that we should talk about is I don't know about anybody else, but as far as writing for me, like writing a good story, that almost adrenaline high that you get on when the words are flowing great and everything like that, you can't be too tired. Sometimes if you wait too long in the day and you're too tired, you're going to set yourself up for failure.
I've been there before many times.
Oh my god, that's like half of my week this year. I'll wait until like 8:30 and then I'll sit there and I'm like, "Oh." So yeah, you got to be fresh and I mean because that's half the fun of it is the exhilaration that you get from writing something and getting it out and the everything the puzzle pieces clicking in your head and you have to be able to enjoy that. It's really important.
One thing that somebody told me a long time ago is that you need to write for yourself first. Don't worry
Oh,
about the
absolutely.
don't worry about the audience. Don't worry about anything else. Make it enjoyable for you. Otherwise, you're not going to have that energy. You're not going to have that. What's it called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a steadfast rule that I think is you can use for the rest of your life. Like if any rule is important, it's that one. Always, always write for yourself. Even if it's a commissioned piece that you get, always write for yourself.
So, what kind of tips would you give for writers that may be struggling with finding time to write, or just in general?
Honestly, I would say to one thing that I have utilized a lot in the past is the voice to text feature. Like, say that you're in the grocery store or you're late to work. You're late to work and traffic is crazy. And, you can't, obviously, you don't have time to stop and write anything down. Pop on your little voice to text and you don't even have to really do anything. You just turn it on. You don't have to touch any buttons or anything like that. And then just if you have an idea, put everything down. If you have something that you think is gold, write it down because chances are by the time you have the time to execute that, you're either going to forget it or it's going to be extremely watered down by fatigue.
That's
So
a good thing to mention. Yeah.
I always try to keep notes. And if I get an idea for something, I'll write it down. Like the other night in bed, it was like 3 a.m. and I shot up in bed and I hit my husband and I said, "Hey," and I told him a story idea, and then the next morning, I'm like, "What was that story idea?" And he told me, and I was like, "Bingo! Thank you."
One thing that I forgot to mention that I do too is I keep a journal of my dreams, and usually it's because you have crazy dreams, and I try to, as soon as I wake up, try to write that down because, as Natalie mentioned, we live such busy lives. What voice to text do you use? Do you just use it on your phone, like little voice memos? Is that what you use?
There's actually apps through the Google Play Store. I mean, like you said, a lot of people have Android now, and that's easily accessible. Some phones already have that feature on it. My old one did, but I dropped it and the screen broke, so I had to get another one, and that one didn't have it featured. So I just went ahead and downloaded it. They have at least 10 of them at the ready when you look it up. They're all
Yeah.
very, very easy to operate.
And how much do you have any idea, like how much any of them store, or is it just like unlimited storage, or what?
I had 8 months worth of 2019 on one of them, and each of them, I mean, you have to imagine with the background noise and especially with me fussing at the kids, like, as one of my best friends, you've heard it yourself during conversations. So it's going to be longer than what's actually utilized. And I didn't run into any storage problems. I don't know the specs specifically, but I know that it was enough for 8 months worth of my long-winded mess, and I didn't have any problems.
I'll have to try to look some of those up and add them to our document so that we can have those readily available for everyone to kind of look into. Because I had forgotten about voice memos, despite the fact that I think most of us use those because of the world we live in. Our final question is: do you feel that the time that you use is worth it when it comes to writing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wish that I had so much more time. So that makes me appreciate the time that I have so much more. I mean, like, just like going back to what you said a minute before, writing for yourself. That's something that makes me happy. And if you write for yourself, is happiness worth it? Of course it is. Always. Always.
So the key at the end of the day is having happiness in our writing, and one way that we're trying to focus on doing that is less stress. And I think that's where all these methods come into play, is because I think we all agree that we all love writing. It's just sometimes it can get stressful, like you're like, oh my god, it's suddenly time for that deadline. Where did all that time go? You know,
Yes, yes, absolutely. I've been there. We've all been there. It's a huge, the daunting D of the deadline.
I mean, even when it comes to Reddit, that's why I stress to a lot of writers when it comes to like a series. If you're doing a series, I always tell them try to get it as planned as far ahead as you can before you even post anything. I know some people have said that they can handle the spur of the moment thing, where they can say, what's it called, right on the fly of your pants, whatever.
Yes.
But I can't do that. Now, if that works, then more power to you, to whoever can do that. But I found managing your time wisely, I guess is the right word for it, works better for me, especially when it comes to series or longer pieces that I know have to meet a certain deadline. I try to plan as far ahead as possible, doing those things. And that's another thing we forgot to even touch upon was planning. When it comes to things that are happening in your writing, try to plan as much as you can, if you can, to know exactly what it is you want to accomplish. A lot of the stuff that we're saying is just kind of rehashing the same material over and over again. But I think these reminders are necessary because we all get stressed out. And it is also okay to have a day to yourself or some time away from your writing too. But when it comes to that, my strongest recommendation is also create for yourself a goal or a deadline about X day is when I'm going to start writing again. For example, you could say, I wrote on Monday, I'm going to take Tuesday off, I'll write again on Thursday, something like that. And
Yes.
what's the thing about procrastination is that it's always going to happen if you let it happen.
It's so easy too.
It
It's
is
so easy.
because
It
there's
always comes to you so attractively, like it's like so enticing. It's, you can put
right.
that off. You don't need to do it right now.
It's not
Um,
important.
I do think one thing that needs to be addressed, that's a little, I'm going to say, like, I'll be a little bit more candid. One thing that I still struggle with, and I've been at this for 2.5 years now, I've been blessed to still be at this for 2.5 years. Um, Especially on No Sleep and the Reddit subforums for your writing, basically any subforum that you post your writing to that has other people posting to it, the temptation, since we're speaking of temptations, of instant gratification is almost overwhelming, even to me at this point as a somewhat semi seasoned author. And it's gonna bite your biscuits. You might get lucky, but it'll bite your biscuits. It really is worth it, especially if you're planning a series. I understand the little voices in your head. Every second that you're not posting on there, somebody could post something that's too similar to yours, or somebody could get 5.2K upvotes in an hour, and then you're like, well, screw this, it's not worth posting today then. But it always is. It always is. Just be patient, and anything that's worth doing is worth doing right, and the
Hmm.
gratification that you receive in the long run is going to far outweigh anything. It's you're not going to be Your chances of disappointment are so much higher if you just click that post button instantly than if you just wait a little bit, make sure that what you have to go on there is worth putting on there. It's.
And I think the last time we checked, patience did not kill anyone. Not yet.
Not yet.
So it is perfectly fine to wait. I have actually waited over a week sometimes to, because if it's going to go on a subreddit forum and I see that it's not going to get the views that maybe I think it could get, it's better to wait. And it's also better to wait for to find the right outlet for it. Maybe Reddit is not the right place for it to be. And so you can hold on to that and you can keep it for whenever you're ready, whenever you want to use it. You don't have to ever feel like, oh my God, I just wrote the story. I need to post it right away. If I don't post it, the world's going to come to an end. That doesn't happen. So, just to reiterate, a few final things before we leave is that set yourself a goal and try to stick to that goal as much as you can, and make sure that those goals are reasonable and achievable. Set up a schedule that you feel you can accomplish. Don't give yourself too much to do, but also don't give yourself too little to do, because I mean,
Yeah,
you could
you want to
say,
utilize these tools to help yourself, not hurt
mm-hmm,
yourself.
oh my God, I could get 10 things done today, and then you're done with those 10 things, and then you're exhausted, and guess what? You just ruined tomorrow.
Yep. Yep.
So
Absolutely.
that's not good. And especially when it comes to deadlines, you don't want to, as we mentioned earlier, put the stuff that's most important first. Because then if you don't, those deadlines are going to creep up on you. And guess what? Then they're going to hit you, and either you're going to miss them. And when you miss them, you feel it. I mean, I know that you can say that too. Like, there's been plenty of anthologies that that have come and gone that are like, oh, I really wish I could have been in that one.
Yeah, I have a deadline at midnight tonight, and I do not think it's going to happen. Like, I've already resigned myself to the fact that I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm still
Ah,
going to try.
you've got a few more minutes. It's fine.
I've
Maybe you
only known
took,
about it for 6 months.
and maybe if you hadn't been doing this workshop, you would have had time to write.
No,
So
no,
it's
no,
all
no,
our
no.
fault. It's all our
This is
fault.
very important. No, not at all. But and that's another lesson, to be learned also is by me saying that is never stop learning, never stop trying to improve. I mean, it's fun. Like I think that I get like hungry for knowledge. I'm always out there either listening or contacting authors or reading. Just, never always just try to be involved, especially with workshops like these. They're very, very important. And, just set yourself up for success in the best way that you can. But also remember at the same time that you are human and you are not a superhero. You can be in print, but in actual real life, as far as I know, none of us are actual legit superheroes. And it's okay. We are still
Have
loved.
Have you ever seen me and Batman in the same room, though?
I
Question.
have not. I have not. I have to admit that.
Okay. So that just leaves open the air of mystery right there. Well, thank you again, Natalie, for joining us. We're about to conclude this event, and we're going to have some questions and answers afterwards. But we want to thank everyone again who was able to join us for the initial recording. And we hope that you come back again next time to discuss another important topic here on WriteRight.